Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. My name is Christina. This is a reading for Cancer, or if you're just feeling drawn to this message for whatever reason, then it's for you. The main focus of the reading today are 3 questions. The first one is, what's your current energy? The next is, what should your focus be on? And third is, where's an area of growth? So Cancer, I've already pulled your cards, and there are a lot of them today, so I'm going to try and get through as many as I can without sort of like over explaining. Like yesterday's reading was such a mess. I feel like there was just a lot of like confusion. So I'm going to just try and keep it focused today. So we're starting with the bottom of the deck energy, and we have 3 here: the whale, the beaver, and the elephant, which to me is just really talking about your energy today, Cancer. I feel like you are almost like on the war path is kind of how this one's coming through. It doesn't have to be that extreme, but I feel like it's just talking about like you have a really strong focus to sort of create, or like with all of this sort of watery energy as well, it's like a really strong focus perhaps in nurturing or growing something is kind of how this is talking about. And then you also have faith as the bottom of the deck for the Prism deck. And this one's talking about, like, I always think about, I used to teach science, so it kind of talks about like the cycle, like the Krebs cycle of like energy and how it moves and how it's created, and that it's always sort of returned back to the same point, right? It's like you have these different steps in the cycle, but it sort of always recycles and returns back to other things to be like reused and all of that. So that's just sort of emphasizing like the creational cycle that you're in, Cancer, is what it feels like. There's so many bottom of the deck for the tarot. I just kept pulling them because there's so many. But it's like, this is you, Cancer, very steadily, I want to say, moving towards some sort of creational goal, right? With the Knight of Materials being like creating something, or like very physical, but very quickly, I want to say, or like with purpose, like you're moving forward with purpose. But it's like you're coming up against this Queen of Materials today, which is today seeming like looking like a blockage. I don't normally read the Queen of Materials like that, but it's like there's somebody who's standing in your path almost, or that's how you're perceiving it, because the 3 cards that come after are all major arcana. It's like what you are moving towards these energies, or are wanting to sort of be in these energies of like the Fool, Magician, and Hierophant, which is all talking about creation, a new start, some sort of higher purpose, basically. But it's like this one is in your way, is how it's feeling. So we're gonna get into what that is for you, Cancer. The very first card that came out was this peacock here, and I feel like this is not your energy, but it's funny because yes, in the yesterday's reading, the Gemini reading, the first card out was the Be Not Afraid of Greatness. This card, this one's actually the last card in your reading today, which is interesting. But I feel like that's part of what that is, and also like bringing in sort of the energy of the Gemini reading, is that you have a focus, but there's something here that is causing distraction, is kind of how this is feeling. And it's this energy of whoever this is. It could be representing like a person, or just like an idea or concept or something like that. But you also have, I forgot to mention, this partnership card at the bottom of the deck, right? I sort of put it down because I feel like this energy, whoever this Queen of Materials is and is coming through with this peacock energy, is almost like wanting a partnership with you. But for you, Cancer, it's like you're like considering it a distraction, or it's like you're not wanting to engage with it for whatever reason. And we'll get into why that is. But you're coming in so strong. Like, your cards are extremely animated today. There's a lot of energy with it. It's like there's a lot of sort of like they just like are spilling out, and I feel like that's what your energy is talking about. Sorry, my hair is very irritating today and yesterday as well. It's kind of like that. It's like you want to like tie your hair, but you're trying to like get rid of any sort of distraction on what it is that you are focusing on. And it's this, with these two cards coming out together, which I love so much, because this represents the sacral chakra and the throat chakra, which of course are extremely paired and linked. With the sacral chakra, talks about creativity, passion, sexuality as well. It's all of this sort of like very like passion-filled energy. And the black egg talks about the throat chakra, where it's the expression of that, right? It's like if these two are not in balance, then you will have some like imbalances in sort of how you express yourself, the things that you create, all of that sort of thing. So these two chakras work very, very well together, and you have both of them. So it's like you're creating a lot of things, expressing some sort of passionate, new, whatever it is, project, working on it. And it's, I want to say it's like extremely, it just feels really good. Like you have a lot of energy to use, and it's like, it's just like natural and being in sort of the flow state. That's sort of where you are. And I feel like this lamb here today is actually kind of representing what it is you're trying to create. There's a lot here too. It just feels like, but it's more so like sort of the state of like, it feels like you're returning to almost like a more pure expression of yourself or something like that. It's not super important because I feel like it's just it's whatever it is that you're working on. And of course, like any sort of artist in their process, at least for me personally, like if you're working on something, it's kind of like this scorpion energy where you're not wanting to share it yet because it's very close to your heart, right? It's like you're not wanting to perhaps present this aspect to the world yet because you're considering as being almost like something that you need to protect. That theme has been coming out so much in the last couple of readings of like protecting something that's precious to you with the lamb here. And so it's to me talking about, it's like this is your project or your creation, or even just like an aspect of yourself that you're wanting to protect perhaps. And it's, but there's this peacock, right? It's like they're in your space. How I was getting this is like, you know how sometimes artists will have like public studios that you can sort of walk through and see, like they're open to the public and you can see how they like create and stuff. It's like this one's coming into your studio, but it's almost like this thing is not ready yet to be sort of shared or whatever. And they're just sort of coming into your studio and like intruding on your space is kind of how this is feeling. And so it's triggering this scorpion energy within you, which is interesting. Okay, so here it's kind of like what you're asking here. It's like this one's like knocked on your door, and it's kind of like, what do you want to this peacock? How long are you planning on being here? Because I have work to do, is kind of like the energy that this one's coming in with. Anyways, so you have here, which I love so much, this justice energy, the two of inspiration, which is all of this sort of sacral chakra, right? It's like you're focused on creating something. But what this is talking about actually is that you're almost like creating like a screen, right? Like there's something here about the armor of the scorpion of being like wanting to put up like this screen so that whoever this peacock energy is can't access or can't see what it is that you are working on, is kind of how that is coming through. And this Nine of Voices, because this is all that creational energy, right? It's like you're tapping into some sort of like creational energy or inspiration source or something like that. And it's because it's all of this. It's like sometimes when you receive a download, it's like it's such a big idea or concept that you can only pull it in almost like idea by idea. Like it's like you know what the final product is going to look like, but it's kind of like taking the little steps towards what that is. that's sort of what these two combinations cards, like you have the big picture already somewhere in your subconscious maybe, even though you can't necessarily access all of it at once. What you need is coming to you when you need it, basically, is what this combination of cards is talking about, which I just love so much. And it's this Page of Emotions and the Seven of Materials, which is talking about that, right? It's like this page of emotions. Did I say materials? Page of Emotions is talking about this heart space, right? Like it's the thing that is precious to you. It's like you're trying to keep this perhaps protected or close, guarded, but it's also like the solar plexus of, it's just very sort of like a creational, but keeping it protected and guarded and safe, right? And the Seven of Materials, of course, talks about your work, like being focused on your work. It's like planting the seeds. It is sort of a long-term process is kind of what this is talking about. And so you are absolutely in it where you're just focused on what it is that you are trying to create and bring in. And it's like this one here is coming in with also this Ace of Inspirations, which is interesting, and the Knight of Materials. So how it looks on my table is like this, right? So it's like you're doing your work, but they're coming in with all of this sort of energy, and it's almost like they're this Knight of Emotions, which I love this card. It's beautiful, but today is coming through is almost like a whirlwind or like a tornado. It's just like a lot of almost energy that's kind of like trampling or stomping on your work and like creating a distraction, just like bringing in all of this sort, because they're coming in with the peacock, right? It's like they absolutely are someone who I want to say either shares an interest with you, or just like, because it's also the inspiration. It's like they're inspired by your work, or they love what it is that you're doing. They're just curious, right? They want to know, perhaps they want to learn, that kind of thing. It's like they have a lot of this sort of shared focus with you, and that's why they've kind of walked into your studio, is that they want to learn, basically. And perhaps even collaborate as well, because you have the Muse of Emotions, right? It's like they're wanting to collaborate. There's sort of this like emotional connection that they're wanting to make. But I feel like for you, Scorpio, that's interesting. Cancer is this Scorpion energy where it's like you're not, it's just like a blank screen. Like you're not wanting this at all. Which I'm finding a little funny today, but okay, so next question, what should your focus be on? And these two cards came out, which I love so much, because I feel this is for you, right? This is talking about, for the zebra, I always talk about this as being like, today it's this energy. Where is it? I forgot to talk about one card. Hold on. Again, so many cards today where it's kind of like, I know exactly what it is that the message is, but I'm kind of having to like search for the cards to explain it. But it's like this energy where what it is you're receiving, this like source of inspiration, I want to call it, is actually sort of changing how it is that you show up, right? It's like it's setting you apart, right? It's with the stripes here. I was actually wearing a different shirt before this, but then I decided to change into this one. It's like changing your appearance, right? Whatever this source of inspiration is shifting how you appear. And I feel like that's an aspect that perhaps you're not aware of, because it's like this one's being drawn to your energy or whatever it is because of this. And I feel like for you, Cancer, there's actually sort of this energy of like suspiciousness, perhaps, like you're suspicious about why they're showing up, or like why they are here. It's like you didn't know that your studio was open to the public, and it's like this stranger walks in and you're kind of confused about it. But with this dragonfly, it does talk to me about a significant soul connection that perhaps the two of you do share. And I feel like there's an aspect here of like, because both of these here with the zebra and the peacock is that they're both very much on display, right? Like the zebra's sort of a bit more, how do I phrase this? Like if there was a zebra in a crowd of horses, right? Like a group of horses, this one would obviously stand out. The peacock stands out in a different way where it's like they're almost like putting themselves on display or like trying to like almost like draw you in where But I feel like here for these two cards to come out together, it's actually asking you to focus on this, on whatever it is that this this peacock here is here to sort of show you, because there is some sort of connection here. And this reciprocity card came out actually in the of what's your current energy with this, because I'm also seeing here this little figure, right, where it's like, it's perhaps emphasizing for you, Cancer. I keep wanting to say Scorpio. You could be dealing with a Scorpio, but it's like it's emphasizing that perhaps there is something for you to give, because I feel like you're reluctant to sort of share what it is that you know or what it is that you're creating or something like that. But with this reciprocity card, it actually does talk about, well, to me today it's talking about like paying it forward, because it could be that like at the start of your journey, because for you today it feels like you're on your journey, you're in the midst of this like sort of peak experience kind of energy, or like, anyways, doesn't matter. But at the beginning of your of this like creational process, perhaps there was somebody who gave you sort of the start or the jump or like the materials even to get started. And now it's sort of like, now that you've reached this sort of place where you can give, it's sort of emphasizing to do that, to actually pay it forward and give to whoever is the one who's wanting assistance. Basically, it's like they are perhaps wanting assistance, but with the peacock, I feel like they're not being upfront about it, right? It's like they're kind of like putting themselves on display, but not speaking or not engaging in a way that you find would be helpful. Is kind of how it's coming through, because with the cards here, with the Seven of Voices, that's what's causing this the scorpion reaction, right? It's like what you're seeing is illusion. There is a potential here for illumination, right? It's like there is a reason why they showed up at your door or whatever. But it's like perhaps it's your perception of it, or there's like an element here because there's something like that you are wanting to protect. It's like anticipating some sort of threat, right? This kind of comes through as like a jump scare. It's like perhaps they just startled you, right? Like you were in the middle of something, you're focused, you're in your flow, and then all of a sudden this big energy comes in and it just startles you. Perhaps that's it. And it's kind of like, what do you want? Like, how long are you going to be here? But it's this energy, right? It's like perhaps there's just sort of this like jump scare kind of energy. And with the Four of Voices, because this is you, right? It's like you're getting all of this sort of illumination energy, and that's what they're being drawn to, right? They're being drawn. Perhaps it's kind of just like you have clarity, or you have the vision, or whatever it is. You are connected to a source of inspiration, and this one is just wanting clarity or illumination, right? They want to know what it is that you know. Okay. However, there is this sort of like, you have the Seven of emotions and the Seven of inspiration, and then the Four of materials, right? So it's like this is sort of the information that you know, which is so interesting. For some reason, I want to tie these three cards together. I feel like it's just like the triangle energy. which to me is just talking about knowledge, right? Receiving knowledge, perhaps. But with this 7 of emotions, I feel like this is talking about, because of the colors, it's whatever it is that you are receiving, the sacral chakra and throat chakra energy, where it's like you're able to perhaps create a lot of things from what it is you're receiving, right? It's like the translation process between like having an idea and then actually creating something from it, perhaps. And with the 7 of inspiration today, I feel like, because this card always talks to me about like keeping out energies that don't belong to you, right? Or like creating boundaries between you and your sort of star inspiration energy and anything else that's not. But today is actually talking about like creating something out of nothing kind of energy, right? Like it's like you're creating things. You're creating physical things out of pure thought is kind of how that's coming through with the dragonfly, as like perhaps this is something that you're gifted at, like something, whatever your spiritual gift is, right? It could be, that's what this is talking about. It's like you have the ability to really tap into your spiritual gifts and then actually use those to create change or substance in the physical. And I feel like that's what they are wanting to learn, or wanting to express, like they're just wanting to learn how to do that, perhaps, with the 4 of materials. But it's something that I feel like you're keeping very close to your chest, Cancer, right? It's like you're not wanting to share it or like share the knowledge for whatever reason. Not because it's like a selfish thing, like not because you're wanting to keep it to yourself, but it's almost like feeling like that, because it's coming through the Lamb, right? Whatever it is that you are working on, if you were to share it now, there's potential for harm to come to this one, or I don't know, however this sort of like, it's just an energy of protection, basically. Okay, but with the 6 of voices, what this is talking about to me is like any sort of perceived sort of harm that may come to your project or your whatever, your gift or whatever it is that you're trying to protect. It's like this card is trying to reassure you that with the voices card, that this sort of jump scare energy is just an illusion, right? It's not real. It's like if you step into it, as soon as you sort of get closer to it, you're just going to be carried over any sort of perceived obstacle or threat, right? So it's sort of encouraging you to lean into it a little bit, and allow it to sort of reveal the truth of what it is. So I'm actually gonna pause here. I'm going to move to the extended. That's posted already, so you can go watch that immediately. I'm just trying to keep the video lengths shorter. So I do have other videos if you're interested in watching those. Thanks so much for sharing your energy with me, and I'll see you in the next one.